What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. Now, if you looked at my community post recently, I said I was going to make a video either talking about the New York Knicks, and I was mainly going to do that if they won 10 games in a row, and obviously they came up short and lost to the Hornets, so that's not happening. Or I was going to make a video talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm a Grizzlies fan, and what is going on with the Grizzlies right now sucks. And so if I made that video, it'd really just be me venting and complaining. And I don't really want to be somebody that's always on here complaining about stuff, especially about stuff that I can't even freaking prevent. And so I've just kind of neglected the video. At some point, I will probably make a video about the Grizzlies. When? I don't know. It's just, I think if I made a video now, it wouldn't be like my other videos where I have notes for it. It would just, like I said, ultimately, at the end of the day, it would be me complaining. There are a lot of issues going on with the team. And I wouldn't talk about the main issue at hand because on my channel and on all my other videos, I mainly talk about basketball-related stuff. I don't talk about off-the-court type of stuff. And obviously, the main issue with the Grizzlies right now is an off-the-court type of stuff. So, it is what it is. So, I've came to a compromise. I'm starting a mini-series. The original idea that I had for this was that I had 10 things that I wanted to see happen in the offseason. And at that point, I was like, there's a lot of teams that I'm not talking about. And so I think if I break it down and do 5 things I want to see happen in the offseason, and then maybe a month later I do 5 more things, and then after that, 5 more. So, like, there will be an ending to this at some point, obviously, because the offseason is going to happen. And I'm like, I'm going to get a head start and start it now. So this is the first of a couple of episodes of me talking about things that I want to see happen in the offseason. It's not necessarily going to be, it's just going to be changes I'd like to see happen with teams. And so in this first episode, I mainly am talking about rebuilding and non-contending teams. Because with contending teams, they could hypothetically win the championship this year, and whatever I suggested for them wouldn't even really apply. So that's why I'm going to wait more until after they're done in the playoffs, and then I have other suggestions for them. So like I said, in this video, all these are non-contending teams, except for one that even, like, no, it's all non-contending teams. I was about to say, except for one who you could say maybe they are, but they really aren't. So, like I said, this is going to be the first of many of these on my channel. 5 things I want to see happen in the offseason. And here we go at number 5. Nets answer the Ben Simmons question. Now, I really like I can't say really like. I like Ben Simmons. And he's had a terrible year, obviously. I did not expect him to have the craziest year because he's coming off a back injury. And I could say that in quotation, but he's just like, he came off a crappy situation in Philadelphia. And I've talked about Ben Simmons several times, mainly in the Philadelphia 76ers video. But the main thing that I said was he was put in a crappy situation at the end of his Philly tenure where they didn't want him there. And then it was kind of, if I was him and I was in his shoes, I would think the same way that how he did. Y'all don't want me here. I don't want to be here. So get rid of me. And it obviously took a lot of time before they got rid of him because obviously they wanted to get something great in return, which they got James Harden, which we'll see how that goes. But like I said, that's just a crappy position to be put in. And then in Brooklyn, he automatically got put in another crappy situation because they thought he was going to be ready to play. And he just wasn't. And I go specifically talk about that Game 4 situation where, like, yeah, he's ruled out. He's not going to play. I never thought, like, you can't just put somebody who has not played all year in the playoffs when the last time we saw them was in last year's playoffs where they sucked. So I thought they were already put him in a crappy situation there. And then Brooklyn in the offseason, the KD trade rumors, the Kyrie trade rumors, just like the team was already crumbling. And then at one point they put some scotch tape on it. And it was fixed. And it was doing very well. And Ben Simmons wasn't even really contributing to that part. And then obviously KD and Kyrie are not there anymore. So I don't really want to call them a big three, but they're getting paid like a big three. Their big three is no more. And now, Ben Simmons, his main contribution is defense, has been replaced by other great defenders on the Brooklyn Nets, mainly Dorian Finney-Smith and Mikal Bridges. So, obviously, the Brooklyn Nets do not need Ben Simmons, but they're going to be paying him a lot of money. And I don't think you pay a lot of money to a 6-man. I've said this in several of my videos. I don't want to see him or Nick Claxton on the court again together. And I think the Nets would lean towards more of Nick Claxton because he had such a big jump defensively this year, and they drafted him, and he's like their guy, and he's not gave them as many problems as Ben Simmons has gave them in his short time there. So I ultimately think they need to move on from Ben Simmons. Problem is, I have no clue how they do it. Maybe, again, like I said, maybe you get a bunch of bench guys and have him be your elite six-man, but even I don't really see that happening. And so it's just kind of like, I want to know what they're going to do with Ben Simmons for the future. I don't have a suggestion for it. I'll just kind of, my ultimate suggestion would just be like, buy in, have him be your ultimate six-man, but it's just like I said, you're paying him a lot of money to do that. But like, even this year, like, they kind of, I'm not going to say gave up on him, but they gave up on him this year. So who really knows how that would affect him in the future. So that's the main thing that I want to see happen for the Nets in the offseason is them answer the Ben Simmons question. Number 4, a team that not a lot of people talk about, but a lot of people like, the Orlando Magic, who have had a maleficent rebuild. After the Dwight Howard trade 10 years ago, they had good, I can't say, I was going to say Vucevic got drafted by me, he didn't. He got drafted by Philly, then obviously he came in the Dwight Howard trade. That they drafted Victor Oladipo, they drafted Sabonis, they drafted Aaron Gordon, they did draft Mario Hezonja, but I'm just saying, like, Orlando just never really hit and was like popping off during their last rebuild. And then they had a 2-year period where they made the playoffs and they won one playoff game and it was somewhat of a big deal. And then they ultimately broke it up at the 2021 trade deadline. The Evan Fournier trade, I can't say they really won, but it's just like Evan Fournier doesn't even play now. Aaron Gordon is great. Borderline all-star this year on the number 1 seed in the West and has helped them out magnificently since his time there. So, and they got, I know, at least 1 pick. I think they got 2 picks out of that trade. But like I said, and then Nikola Vucevic in a trade that they ultimately won, because not only did they get a young guy to replace Vucevic that has done very well in his tenure in Orlando in Wendell Carter Jr., but they got a great pick in Franz Wagner, however you want to pronounce it. I always say Wagner. I don't even know how to say it anymore. And they're most likely going to get a great pick out of it this year because the Bulls have disappointed this year, mainly due to injuries and just kind of not being that good. But the main point of this, I want to see them get a shooting guard because they are already way above their rebuild. Because they have, I know right now, they influx shooting guards, Gary Harris, Jalen Suggs, but I've always thought Jalen Suggs was a shooting guard, or a point guard, and I don't really, like, they got 2 other point guards, obviously, in Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony, and I think either of them are starters, and if not, you got one of them come off the bench and be a great 6-man, so their point guard question is answered. Like I said, they play Jalen Suggs at shooting guard. He is their highest pick besides Paolo Banchero. But small forward, you got Franz Wagner. Power forward, you got Paolo Banchero. And center, you got Wendell Carter Jr. I know I'm probably forgetting stuff. They got Bol there. They got John Isaac there, who is actually very weird because he was playing well and then he got injured again. I just want them to get a very good shooting guard, and they have a couple ways they can get it. Like I said, they've got tradable people, because I think Orlando Magic fans like Jalen Suggs, but like the NBA community want to call him a bust. I'm not calling him a bust. I don't ever really call anybody a bust in the NBA. But, like I said, they would probably rather keep Markelle or Cole Anthony. And they're going to have another high draft pack this year. So, maybe they go the shooting guard route. Like I said, they could trade for one. I don't really see a top-tier shooting guard. And they got cap space. So, like I said, there's different ways they can get a shooting guard, but I want to see them get that shooting guard because, like I said, you already got point guards, you got a small forward, you got a power forward, you got a center, and I don't really want to see them end up with somebody in particular who is in the thumbnail of this video that I'll talk about a little later. At number 3, the Hornets get LaMelo Ball some help, and you don't even really have to do that. Just trade Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. Terry Rozier has been there for quite a while. It's actually pretty crazy because every year he's in trade rumors. And then Gordon Hayward, who has been there one less year than Terry Rozier. And his first year there, he was very good, but he just got injured. And then the second year there, he got injured. And now, the third year, he got injured again. I just kind of want to see those two off the team. That way they go completely young and just reset and finally enter the LaMelo Ball era. Because if you look at LaMelo Ball and you look at the other younger point guards in the league, like a Darius Garland, a Tyrese Halliburton, they kind of have like their guys on their team, or they're actually leading their team. Where LaMelo is a struggle for him to lead his team because there's not really much there. There's always question marks of, are they going to pay their guys? Whether last year was Miles Bridges, which ultimately he fumbled the bag and did something very terrible to fumble the bag. PJ Washington, who is going to be a free agent this offseason. Don't even really know who's going to bring him back. And then they do have a great center in Mark Williams. It's just, they have a lot of places they need to fill. And at some point, they need to get LaMelo some help because he is a star player. And star players obviously need help. We had to hear it all year about Luka Doncic. And obviously, Luka and LaMelo are not on the same level yet. Probably won't be. But obviously, get them some help. Now, this year, I think you can kind of have an excuse because they probably were expecting to be good because they would have Bridges, but ultimately, they don't. And then LaMelo's been injured most of the year. So this year, I think it's an okay year. Get rid of Rozier. And if, like, you're not going to get LaMelo some help, at least get rid of Rozier and Hayward and start young and just set the foundation. At number 2, the Portland Trail Blazers and Chicago Bulls blow it up. Now, I made a whole video talking about this for Portland. It's just mainly I want to see Damian Lillard traded. That way we see more of Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. In that video, I didn't really talk about this perspective, so I'm going to talk about it here. Like I said, go check that video out if you haven't. I understand Damian Lillard wants to be there. He wants to be loyal, and he dropped 71 points. Let's talk about loyalty. And it's just like I said, at the end of the day, one of the two sides are going to have to make a decision. And in the NBA, I made a whole, like, chart. Let me go to it. I wanted to make a video about this, but it's just like, at the end of the day, I didn't. But it was talking about, like, loyalty in the NBA. So, in the whole thing, because he had the quote about Russell Westbrook saying that he's been traded so many times, it is just proof that the grass isn't always greener. But if you look around the NBA, not many players are on the same team that they were drafted by. And so I started the 2011 draft. One player, Klay Thompson, is still on the same team. The 2012 draft class, 3 guys, and it could be 2, but they all could be traded. The 3 guys in the 2012, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, Draymond Green. 2013, Giannis. 2014, Joel, Marcus Smart, Nikola Jokic. 2015, Cat, Miles Turner, Devin Booker, and Kevon Looney. And even 2016, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Pascal Siakam, Furkan Korkmaz. At the end of the day, a lot of these guys have something in common. The only guys that really don't, and it is absolutely hilarious. I mentioned Furkan Korkmaz, but I had to because he's still on the same team. But at the end of the day, all these guys have been in title contention. Klay has won a title. Draymond has won a title. Giannis has won a title. Joel, Marcus Smart, Nikola Jokic. On top contended teams, 2 of those guys are the main guys on that team. Cat, definitely a bit of a question mark, and I even touched on it in that same video. Miles Turner, somebody that's always in trade rumors, but just hasn't been traded for some reason. Devin Booker in title contention. And Kevon Looney has helped the Warriors win titles. Jaylen Brown helped the Celtics win a title. Jamal Murray, he would be helping the Nuggets title contend, but he was hurt the last 2 years, and now this year he will be able to do that. They're the number 1 seed. Pascal Siakam helped the Raptors win a title, and Furkan Korkmaz requested a trade and was declined, and it was ultimately a ha-ha moment, because it's just a ha-ha moment all around. So, even with Portland, they're not even really blowing it up. They already got young guys. They got way younger at the trade deadline. I'm mainly not wanting them to have to pay a lot of money to Jeremy Grant and then just ultimately trade him, because I'm just getting flashbacks of the Norman Powell deal. And Damian Lillard is probably going to be the peak of his value. Maybe wait till next offseason, because again, in that video I touched on it, the point guard market is just like, I'd say 80% of the league has their point guard and probably wouldn't want to give up a lot to get Damian Lillard. And I went over the few teams that maybe would. But it's just like, I mainly want to see Damian Lillard traded. That way, the young guys in Portland flourish. And Damian Lillard is in a better situation. And I know the whole argument against it is that he is loyal and wants to stay in Portland. But at the end of the day, that's just not how the NBA is ran. Now, talking about Chicago, it's definitely a weird situation because they gave up 2 first-round picks for Vucevic. And it's very similar to the Kawhi Leonard, Paul George situation, but never gets talked about the same way, where obviously they gave up Shea and a lot of first-round picks for Paul George, but at the end of the day, they did it for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Where, in this situation, they gave up 2 first-round picks and Wendell Carter for Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan, even though DeMar was also in a sign-and-trade situation. But ultimately, this has just been, they had a very good year last year, and then Lonzo got hurt, and then Lonzo did not come back to save the day this year. It's just, the team has been very, very weird. You got 2 guys that a lot of teams would probably give up a lot to get, and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Ultimately, I think the main reason they're probably not going to rebuild is they're not going to have their pick. They're probably going to be willing to bring Vucevic back because I don't think many teams are going to be trying to pursue Nikola Vucevic. So ultimately, what I see happening for this team is they bring the guys back that are on the team now. They hope that Lonzo can play at the beginning of next year. But ultimately, if they're doing well, they'll just keep the ball rolling. But what I expect and what's most likely going to happen is the ball goes the other way and it does not work out and they blow it up at the deadline. But I think they should just go ahead and blow it up now. Their young guy that they have is Ayo Dosunmu and Patrick Williams. And that definitely sucks. So maybe I'm just actually being a hater, even though I like the Bulls. But I gave the proposed situation, I gave the proposed timeline. They're probably going to bring their guys back, hope that Lonzo can come back, and then if it works, then they keep it going. But if it doesn't, and it probably won't, they'll blow it up at the deadline. I'm just trying to kind of speed it up now. And talking about teams that should blow it up, I want to give an honorable mention to the Wizards. They kind of are in the similar situation as these 2 teams because they're in the Portland Trail Blazers, Damian Lillard situation where they gave Bradley Beal a lot of money to be loyal and all that and haven't really been contending for a title. And they're in the Chicago Bulls situation where they're just probably going to end up bringing their guys back that they have. It's not going to really progress to anything different. But at least every year they try something different. Like this offseason, they got Monte Morris. I thought that was a great pickup. It just hasn't really worked out. The year before, they made Porzingis move at the deadline. I thought that was a great deal and that they won the trade. You can obviously debate that now because the Mavericks ended up going to the conference finals without Porzingis. And then in that offseason, they traded Westbrook for Kyle Kuzma. They probably did not expect to win that trade, but they 110% won that trade. So I want to give an honorable mention to the Wizards, but at least every year they do something to be different. And it's stuff that I think should work out. It just never really does. And at number 1, it's in the thumbnail of the video. And I've been wanting this almost all year. And at the deadline, I 110% want it. Victor Wembanyama. I will get better at saying it. On the San Antonio Spurs. And Scoot Henderson on the Houston Rockets. Now, I don't have Scoot in the thumbnail, but the Rockets have been bad all year. They've been clowned on all year and are projected to get Victor. I don't really want to see that. The Spurs have had a history of getting the number 1 pick twice, and one of them was a generational talent. The other was a very great talent that was there for a long time and helped them win 2 titles, in David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Probably one of my favorite NBA duos, the Twin Towers. They had the nickname. And they were loyal. You keep talking about this loyal word. So, and the big question mark on their team, it's not even really a question mark. The main problem on their team, they don't have a proper center. They traded their center, Jakob Poeltl, at the deadline, and I don't want to say they went into tank mode. I don't like using the word tank because a lot of the teams don't say they're tanking. It's just like, yeah, we lost the game, but we all know they're trying to tank. So I don't like saying the word. But I like the rest of the positions that they have on their team. But like I said, center is their main question mark. Because at point guard, they have Trey Jones, who will be a free agent. And I really like Trey Jones. I like both of the Jones brothers. Shooting guard, Devin Vassell has had a great year, but has been injured. Injured most of it. Keldon Johnson, who they have at small forward, could play at power forward. But they have another power forward in Jeremy Sohan, who has, at the beginning of the year, he definitely was a rookie. He was a rookie. Now, he's learned from some of his mistakes and has progressed very well. And I'll say he's a fan favorite. People like him because he's I don't want to say he's a Dennis Rodman 2.0, but that's what people compare him to. I just don't like comparing current players to all-time legends, especially one in Dennis Rodman. So the main thing is the Spurs have had a history in drafting generational talent. The Spurs need a center, and that's what Wembanyama is. And the Spurs have always been a very good team. And this has been this weird timeline where they haven't been. And I think, I'm not going to say if he gets there, he's going to automatically make them a playoff team, but he's definitely going to make them a way, way more interesting team than they are. And then on the Rockets side of things, they've been a mess all year. Their point guard is Kevin Porter Jr., which I like Kevin Porter Jr., but I've kind of always thought that he would be great as a sixth man. He probably wouldn't like that, but it doesn't really matter if you're getting the number 2 overall pick and Scoot Henderson, who's been highly touted and as a point guard takes his position. And then it's very similar to the Spurs. Point guard is their question mark. Because shooting guard, they have Jalen Green, who was the number 2 pick as well, and has progressed. He's done very well offensively this year. Small forward is Tari Eason. They might have another. Kenny Martin Jr. I don't know the small forward I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure it's Tari Eason, who's also done well this year. Power forward is Jabbar Smith Jr., who was supposed to be the number 1 pick and then ultimately fell to 3 and has had a rough year. I still have high hopes for him. And Alperen Sengun, who is their center. People call him Baby Jokic. I just, like I said, didn't really want to compare younger guys to legends, but he's definitely very well. But it's just kind of like, the Rockets, the last month all year have not been very good, and the last month is kind of what's been noticed because there's been multiple 30-point games dropped on their head. But like I said, the point guard is the question mark on their team, and I think that Scoot can answer it very well. Also, the Pistons, like I said, I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure the Pistons have the worst record in the East, so I would think they would have a higher chance than the Spurs at getting the 2 or first pick. But they have a great team. They just had their best player get injured, and it kind of screwed them. So that is the main thing that I do want to see in the offseason as of this moment. Like I said, this is going to be a mini-series that I'm doing, things I want to see in the offseason. This first episode was mainly talking about rebuilding and / non-contending teams. So the next time that I do it, it'll be a middle-of-the-pack related teams. That video will probably be next month. Give it some time to see what team, because by this time next month, we will know who's going to be in the playoffs and who's not going to be in the playoffs. Then it kind of give a limelight of what directions teams need to go in. So, like I said, thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.